afternoon, YouTube. How you guys doing today? So, I said earlier, if you saw my earlier video, if you did look at my first video this morning, please go back and check it out. Good afternoon, good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. My girl Brandy's in the room. Hey, Missy Monroe. Hey, everybody. So, I want to come back with a special treat for you guys today, and I want to share some audio, some never before broadcast, but recorded audio from the Honorable Malcolm X, and I think that I feel that the best history of teacher, the best way to teach history, many times is when you hear the words of the actual teacher teaching the message himself. Do you see what I'm saying? So let me click over. And like I said, good afternoon, everybody. We are going today, I have a treat for you guys. We're going to be listening to two speeches from Malcolm X. Like I said, two different speeches. In fact, like I said, I'm sorry before, I'm going to say it again, they were never before broadcast, but the speeches were recorded, and you're going to hear Malcolm X's voice. Now, the speeches are kind of parallel because one speech that the Honorable Malcolm X is giving is actually in a Harlem synagogue, Harlem's Mosque number 7. And the second speech is in a Baptist church. The Baptist church, the pastor of that Baptist church at the time was Adam Clayton Powell. If you don't know who Adam Clayton Powell is, he was, very prominent when it came to advocating for the black person's civil rights during the time of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and even before Martin Luther King, got his, became, as prominent of a leader as he became. Before him, there was Adam Clayton Powell. Now, Adam Clayton Powell, he's really shisty when it comes to advocating for our people. Adam Clayton Powell, you ought to Google him if you've never heard of Adam Clayton Powell, because he was not only a minister of a Baptist church, he was also a politician. And he was a shady politician, okay? And he really was advocating, in my opinion, at the end. He's like the Al Sharpton of today. You guys know what Al Sharpton is about. Well, Adam Clayton Powell is an earlier version of Al Sharpton. That's the best way that I can, describe him. Okay, he a whole piece of work. Like I said, you ought to Google Adam Clayton Powell, and it is an eye opener. Okay, so anyway, the second speech that Malcolm X, he spoke at Adam Clayton's Powell's, I can't hardly say his name, Baptist Church. Okay, and it is very rare that you will find a speech from Malcolm X in a Baptist church. Okay, and so for that reason, I absolutely understand. When you look at a book or you look at a article about Malcolm X, like in the New York Times from back in the day or whatever, and they not only called him a political, leader, a social analyst. I call him a social justice warrior, but they call him a social analyst. But they also sometimes would refer to him as an Old Testament prophet. Do you see what I'm saying? Those are some of the some of the accolades that they attached, to Malcolm X. Of course, they also called him a separatist, a black supremacist, but I thought it was as it pertains to these two speeches, the social justice leader, the political leader, as well as an Old Testament prophet, I think they both apply in these speeches. In the first speech you're going to listen to, like I said, he's speaking in Harlem at Mosque number 7. Okay, he's speaking on creation. He's speaking on the Elijah Muhammad's version of creation, and I was so fascinated by the Elijah Muhammad's version of creation because I had never heard that version of the creation of man, the creation of the human before. Okay, and it's very interesting. I found it fascinating. Like I said, I had never heard it before, and I couldn't wait to share it with you guys because it is an absolute contrast to the Holy Bible's version of creation. Do you see? It's even in contrast to the version that I decoded in my own words, because after looking through a couple of theological books. Okay, so it's very interesting. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to share this with everybody. Okay, so that is that is him talking about creation. And his second speech at Adam Clayton Powell's Baptist Church, he is talking about integration, separation, as well as reparations. Now we know for a while we have a real popular subject speaking on ADOS reparations right now going on social media, on and off social media, in many of our black communities, in many of our black conversations. We know that there have been countless arguments for and against the reparations of our people via chattel slavery. And we know that if you are black in America and you were born here, you are ADOS American, you are descended from chattel slavery. Not all of us, here in America, because it is a melting pot. But if you are like me, I am absolutely ADOS American. Do you see what I'm saying? I am a descendant of, slavery. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I'm going to get it started because it's kind of long. And I figured because it was a slow Tuesday, you don't have a lot of stuff going on right now. So we listen to these speeches. There is almost, I think it's 1 hour and 50 long in total. Do you see what I'm saying? The first one is a lot longer than the second one. So I guess I better go ahead on and get started. I just want to give you guys a little preface of the speeches. And like I said, they were never broadcast, but they were recorded, by one of Malcolm X's closest friends by the name of Ben 2X. At the time, Benjamin, he's now called Benjamin. After that, he was called Benjamin Kareem. And so his friend recorded these messages. Like I said, they were never broadcast. And also, on a side note, there is a book. And the title of that book is titled The End of White World Supremacy. It's available on paperback. It was published by Arcade Publishing. And you can find that book if you want to read these speeches. You can read them. And they have them, written down on paperback, like I said, in that book. And you can find that book on Amazon if you're interested in reading about these speeches, what led to the speeches. It's a very interesting story about how it came to that Malcolm X, a Muslim, came to speak at a Baptist church. It's very interesting, how that whole thing came about. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, for right now, we're going to go on and get started because like I said, it's almost 2 hours long. I'm excited to present this to you guys. I hope you guys enjoy these speeches as much as I did. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's very rare to, find something like this, find such a rare set of speeches from the Honorable Malcolm X that haven't already been published. Now, when I play the audio, it's kind of grainy because the recordings are very old. They recorded back in the 60s, so you'll hear that kind of grainy, I don't want to say muffled, but that grainy, old sound to it because that's how old the tapes are. Do you see what I'm saying? And good afternoon, everybody. If I didn't speak to you individually, it's only because I want us to go on and get started. Thank all of you guys for joining me. I hope you guys will enjoy these speeches as much as I did. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead on and get started, okay? And if you guys see, I think Brandy's still in here, and I can see what's going on in the chat. And if I have to pause the audio to get a troll out or whatever, that's what I'll do in case Brandy has to leave. She got the baby she got to take care of. But anyway, let's listen to these speeches. I hope you enjoy. And after the speeches are done, I'll come back to close, okay? And so, yeah, thank you guys. Here we go. Malcolm X. Oh, and before we get started, also, if you can't hear the audio, you might want to put your headphones on, but I am going to turn my microphone up as much as I can. Okay, here we go. I just want to add that little part. Okay.
Doing a wonderful job at opening up our eyes, giving us a good preliminary basic understanding of the aims and the objectives of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And also, and I'm thankful to Allah for seeing so many out here tonight, especially just before Christmas. It's next to a miracle when you get this many of our people together so close to Christmas interested in anything whatsoever that's serious. And actually what this shows is the change that's taking place among the so-called Negroes, not only here in New York, but throughout America, throughout the entire world. Throughout the entire world today, dark mankind is waking up and undergoing a new type of thinking. And this new type of thinking is creating new approaches and new reactions that make it almost impossible to figure out what the black man is going to do next. And by black man, we mean, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we mean that this includes those who are not white. He teaches us that black is the basic color in all colors. That black is the foundation or the basis. And all of our people, or all of the people who have not yet become white, are still black, or are at least part of the black nation. So here at Muhammad's Mosque, when you hear us use the term black, we mean everybody who is here. Whatever, despite your complexion, if you're here at the mosque, you're black. Because the only ticket you need to get into Muhammad's Mosque is to be black. So if you got in, you know you're black. You may not have known you were black before you came here. In fact, very few of our people really look upon themselves as being black. They think of themselves as practically everything else on the color spectrum except black. And no matter how dark one of our people may be, you never hear him call himself black. But now that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching among the so-called Negroes, you'll find our people at all complexions running around here bragging about, I'm a black man. Well, this shows you that a new teaching is taking place and that there is new thinking among the so-called Negroes. If just yesterday you would have to admit that it was very difficult to get our people to refer to themselves as black, and then now all of a sudden you find all of us of all complexions not apologizing for being black, but bragging about being black. Well, there's a new thinking that has sprung up here in America among the so-called Negroes. And the one who is actually the author of this new thinking is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is what he is teaching that's making our people for the first time proud to be black. And what's most important of all, for the first time, it makes our people want to know more about black, want to know why black is good, or what there is about black that's good. I might stop right here to point out, some of you may say, well, I come out here to listen to some religion of Islam, and all I hear you talk about is black. We don't separate our religion from our color, nor do we separate our color from our religion. The white man doesn't. The white man never has separated Christianity from white, nor has he separated white from Christianity. When you hear the white man bragging about, I'm a Christian, he's bragging about he's a white man. And the average Negro, when you hear him bragging about he's a Christian, he's bragging about he's a white man. Or he wants to be white. And usually those Negroes who brag like that, I think you'll have to agree, their songs and the things that they sing in church bear out that they have a greater desire to be white than anything else. My mother was a Christian, and father was a Christian. And I used to hear them when I was a little child sing songs, Wash Me White as Snow. My father was a black man, and my mother was a black woman. But yet the songs that they sang in their church were designed to fill their heart with a desire to be white. So many people, especially our people, they would get resentful to hear us say something like this. But then, rather than get resentful, all they have to do is think back over many of the songs and much of the teaching and the doctrine that they were taught while they were going to church, and they'll have to agree that it was all designed to make us look down at black and up at white. So the religion that we have, the religion of Islam, the religion that makes us Muslims, the religion that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching us here in America today, is designed to undo in our mind what the white man has done to us. It's designed to undo the type of brainwashing that we had to undergo for 400 years at the hands of the white man in order to bring us down to the level that we're on today. So when you hear us use when you hear us often refer to black and almost in a boastful way, and actually we're not boasting, We're speaking of it in a factual sense. All we're doing is telling the truth about our people. Whenever you exalt black, that's not propaganda. When you exalt white, that's propaganda. Because no one can give biological evidence that there is any basis to elevate white or place white above everything else. But you can give biological evidence to show where black actually is the stronger and the superior of the two, if you want to make that kind of comparison. So never think ill of the person whom you hear representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad if an overemphasis seems to be placed upon black, but rather sit and analyze and try and get an understanding. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that of all the things the black man can study, or any man can study for that matter, history is best qualified to reward all research. You have to have a knowledge of history no matter what you're going to do. Anything that you undertake, you have to have a knowledge of history in order to be successful in it. The thing that has made the so-called Negro in America fail more so than any other thing is your and my lack of knowledge concerning history. We know less about history than anything else. There are black people in America who have mastered the mathematical sciences, have become professors and experts in physics, are able to toss Sputniks out there in the atmosphere, out in space. They're masters in that field. We have black men who have mastered the field of medicine. We have black men who have mastered other fields. But very seldom do we have black men in America who have mastered the knowledge of history of the black man himself. They are experts. We have among our people those who are experts in every field. But seldom can you find one from among us who is an expert on the history of the black man. And because of his lack of knowledge concerning the history of the black man, no matter how much he excels in these other sciences, he's always confined. He's always relegated to the same low rung of the ladder that the dullest of our people are relegated to. And all of this stems from his lack of knowledge concerning history. What made Dr. George Washington Carver a Negro scientist instead of a scientist? What made Paul Robeson a Negro actor instead of an actor? What made Ralph Bunche, or makes Ralph Bunche, a Negro statesman instead of a statesman? The only difference between Bunche and Carver and these others whom I just mentioned, they don't know the history of the black man. Bunche is an expert, an international politician, a politician on the international level. But Bunche doesn't know himself. He has no knowledge of the history of his own people. He can be sent all over the world by America to solve problems for America or to solve problems for other nations, but he can't solve problems for his own people in this country. Why? What is it that ties our people up in this way? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says it boils down to just one word: history. When you study the history of Bunche, his history is different from the history of the black man who just comes here from Africa. And if you notice, Bunche was in Atlanta, Georgia during the summer NAACP convention. He was Jim Crow. He was segregated. He was not allowed to go in a hotel down there. Yet there are Africans who can come here black as night and go in some of these cracker hotels. Well, what is the difference between Bunche and one of them? The difference is Bunche doesn't know his history, and they, the Africans, do know their history. They may come here out of the jungle, but they know their history. They may come here wearing sheets with their hair all wrapped up, but they know their history. You and I can come out of Harvard, but we don't know our history. And the basic difference in why we are treated as we are, one knows his history and one doesn't know his history. The American Negro doesn't know his history. The American so-called Negro is a soldier who doesn't know his history. He's a servant in America who doesn't know his history. He's a graduate from Harvard or Columbia or Yale or Howard or Tuskegee who doesn't know his history. And because he doesn't know his history, he's confined. He's limited. He's held under the control and the jurisdiction of the white man who knows more about the history of the Negro than the Negro knows about himself. But when you and I wake up, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and learn our history, learn the history of our kind, as well as the history of the white kind. Then then the white man is at a disadvantage and we're at an advantage. The only thing that puts you and me at a disadvantage is our lack of knowledge concerning history. So one of the reasons, one of the missions, one of the objectives of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad here in America is not only to teach you and me the right religion, but to teach you and me history. In fact, do you know that if you and I know history, we know the right religion? The only way right now that you can become confused, become mixed up, and not know which religion belongs to God is if you don't know history. In fact, you have to know history to know something about God. You have to know history to know something about God's religion. You have to know history to know something about God's people. You have to know history to know something about God's plans and God's purposes. And as I say, the only people who don't know history are the American so-called Negroes. If you know history, for an example, whenever you look at this religion right here, the only way you can explain it is to have a knowledge of history. Why is it called Christianity? It is called Christianity, they say, because it was named after a man called Christ, who was born 2,000 years ago. Now, you know, brothers and sisters, God is an old God, and the world is an old world. The universe has been here a long time. I think all of you will agree that the universe has been here longer than 2,000 years. And you'll also agree that the universe was made by God himself. That God created the universe. And God created the people who are on this earth. God wouldn't create a universe. God wouldn't put a sun up in the sky and make 9 planets rotate around it, all of them inhabited. You and I inhabiting the planet Earth upon which we live. God wouldn't have done all of this and not given people a religion. God puts his religion here at the creation of the universe. God's religion is as old as the universe. In fact, God's religion is older than the universe. Now then, since you agree to this and you also agree that Christ was born 2,000 years ago, which means Christianity is only 2,000 years old, this couldn't have been God's religion. If your knowledge of history shows you that God couldn't call his religion Christianity, because Christianity is only 2,000 years old. So if this is the case, then what was God's religion called before the birth of Christ? Can you see the importance of history? Why, if you didn't know history, you'd think that this was God's religion. And you'd be running around here practicing this, wondering why everybody doesn't practice this. Because some people have a better knowledge of history than others do. It is only the people whose knowledge of history is limited who try and jump up and say that Christianity is the name of God's religion. If Christianity hasn't always been the name of God's religion, it now isn't the name of God's religion. God doesn't change the name of his religion. God doesn't even change his religion. God doesn't change his mind. God's mind is made up from the beginning. He doesn't have to change his mind because he knows all there is to know all the way down the wheel of time. He never has to change his mind. His mind is made up. His knowledge is complete. It's all encompassing. Do you understand? So, once you can see, and I think you can, that it's almost impossible for God to call this his religion. What did God call his religion? Christians are the ones who call God's religion Christianity, but God was here before Christians came on the scene. They tell you that the Christians had their beginning back there with the Romans. One of the Roman emperors who supposedly accepted the teachings of some of Jesus' disciples and then named what the disciples taught Christianity. But Jesus didn't even call it Christianity. This wasn't named this until 200 or 300 years after Jesus was dead. Right or wrong? Any history book will tell this. Any Bible will tell this. Any religion, any theologian should have a knowledge of this. And the only Negroes who will contend with this are those who don't know history. And most Negroes don't know history. And most Negroes will contend with it. But when you tell it to the white man, he shuts his mouth. Because he knows that this is true. So then those who have studied it a little deeper, they'll say, well, before God called before it was called Christianity, it was called Judaism. Isn't this what they say? Named after a man called Judah. This right here doesn't follow logic. If Christianity became named this after Christ was born, and before Christ was born the religion was called Judaism, then that means that this got its name from the son of Jacob, whose name was Judah. But history tells us that Jacob was serving God before Judah was born, which shows us that Jacob's religion couldn't have been Judaism. And Isaac was Jacob's father. He was serving God also before Jacob, his son, was born. Isaac was Judah's grandfather. And Abraham was Judah's great-grandfather. Meaning Abraham was on the scene long before Judah came on the scene. Now you couldn't call Abraham's religion Judaism, because there was no such thing as Judaism in Abraham's day. There was no such thing as Judaism in Isaac's day or in Jacob's day. Do you understand? So what was God's religion before they called it Judaism? And this is something that the white man has never taught you and me. The white man is afraid to let you and me know what God's religion was called in Abraham's day, because Abraham was supposed to have been known as the father of all of them. He was supposed to be the progenitor of all of them. He's supposed to be one of God's first servants. One of the first to submit to God is supposed to be Abraham. Now, if you can see this, then find out what was Abraham's religion. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us Abraham's religion was the religion of Islam. Islam only means complete submission to God, complete obedience to God. Abraham obeyed God. Abraham obeyed God so much so that when God told Abraham to take his son and sacrifice him, stick a dagger in his heart. Is that what he told him? Abraham took his only son up on the mountain and was going to sacrifice him to God, showing you that he believed in Islam. What does Islam mean? Obey God. Submit to God. So that this name here, if you notice, has no connection, no association with the birth of a man. This is not a man's name. This doesn't come from a man. This comes from a man. Buddhism was named after a man called Buddha. Confucianism was named after a man called Confucian. Right, or Confucius, right or wrong. Likewise with Judaism and Christianity. But Islam is not connected with any man. Islam is independent of any man. Islam is an act, which means submit completely to God or obey God. And when you say your religion is Islam, that means you're a Muslim. So, to clarify this, what must you do? You must have a knowledge of history. If you don't have a knowledge of history, you run around calling yourself a Christian, swearing you're for serving God. Or you run around saying that your religion is Judaism, you swear you're serving God. If your religion is Christianity, you follow in Christ. If your religion is Judaism, you follow in Judah. If your religion is Buddhism, you follow in Buddha. Do you understand? And they're all dead. And if you follow them, you'll die too. This is where it leads you. Wherever your leader is, that's what happens to you. Now, we who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we believe in Islam. We don't believe in Muhammad. We believe in Islam. He teaches us the religion of Islam. Do you understand the difference? These people they believe in Christ. They believe Christ is God. Oh, yes, they do. That he was born of the Blessed Virgin. That's what they believe. Didn't have a father, just a spirit. And then came into the world and was crucified and rose from the dead and went up into space. They believe that. But they believe that because they don't know history. But you'll find the people, if you notice, the Jews have a greater knowledge of history than the Christians do. Do they not? The Christian history only goes back 2,000 years. The history of the Jews go back beyond 4,000 years. Can you see this? And the Muslim history goes back. There's no limit to the Muslim history. If you notice, the Christians can only go back to what they call the Greek Empire. Usually they go back to that's what they call the Occidental, the beginning of the Occident, the Greek Empire, Roman Empire, and so forth. The Jews have a knowledge of history that goes back into Egypt and Babylon. You notice how they all go back farther than the other. But now the Muslim history goes back. It has no limit. There are no chains on how far you can go back when you're a Muslim. The Christian and the Jew combined go back to whom? To Adam. And they stop right there. And they say beyond him there was nothing happening. Well, this is because they don't know. But the more history there is, the greater their knowledge of history is, this has an influence on the type of religion that they accept. Do you understand? All praises due to Allah. Another example. What makes the royal family of Europe, or any country, differ from the peasant? Royalty knows its ancestry. Royalty knows its history. This is what makes them royal. You can't have a king who can't trace his history on back into his forefathers. The only way he can be king is to be born a king. But if you take away his history, and he doesn't know who his forefathers are, what does he become? A peasant, a common ordinary man. Same with the Jews and the Christians. It's because the Jews have the longest record of history that they can call themselves the chosen people. The Christians can't call themselves the chosen people because their history is not long enough. They can't go back to the time when the choice was being made. But the Hebrews, the so-called Jews, they can go back so far, they can lay claim to that which actually is not theirs. But the reason they can claim it because nobody else that they're dealing with can go back far enough to dispute that. But the Muslims. Do you understand? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mission is to teach the so-called Negroes a knowledge of history, the history of self, of ourselves, our own kind, and by giving us a knowledge of this history concerning our own kind, show us how we fit into prophecy, how we fit into the prophecies of the Bible, biblical prophecy. Which means, when you go in one of these churches, usually they name their church after some word in this Bible. Big Rock Baptist Church, or Drinking at the Well Baptist Church. They got all those kind of names, brother. Friendship Baptist, Union Baptist, Israel Baptist, Jacob's Ladder Baptist. Isn't that how they name them? They find some kind of old funny word in this Bible to name their whole religion after. Their whole doctrine is based on a verse in the Bible. He rose, Baptist Church. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad bases what he teaches not on a verse, but upon the entire book. From beginning to end, he says that he can open up the book and prove that what he's teaching is true, and prove that the Bible agrees with him, and then use the Bible to prove that what they're teaching in the church is wrong. You know, that's saying something. For instance, he says that in Genesis, the 15th chapter and the 13th verse, to give you an example, he points out where it says, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was mentioning this verse tonight on the radio. He said, and God said unto Abraham, know for a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. Now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that explains his teaching right there. Because he teaches that the so-called Negroes are the ones that the Bible is talking about, who have spent 400 years as strangers in a land that isn't theirs. And you can't deny that we're strangers here. I don't think any of you all will deny that we're strangers here. We're not in a country where we're made to feel at home. We'll put it that way. There's hardly any Negro in his right mind can say he feels at home in America. He has to admit that he's made to feel like a stranger. Right or wrong? Well, this is what God told Abraham. This is what God told Abraham would happen in this day and time. Remember, Abraham's religion was Islam. Abraham wasn't a Jew. Abraham wasn't a Christian. Abraham wasn't a Buddha. Abraham was a Muslim. Which means he obeyed God. God told him, your people are going into bondage. They're going to become slaves. They're going to be afflicted. They'll be strangers far from home for 400 years. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, you and I are the seed of Abraham. We're the descendant of Abraham. Now, the preacher in the church, he tells you that the Jew is the seed of Abraham. One of them is right and one of them is wrong. Either Mr. Muhammad is right and the preacher is wrong, or the preacher is right and Mr. Muhammad is wrong. This is what we're putting on the line today. Who is the seed of Abraham? Is it this blue-eyed, blonde-haired, pale-skinned Jew? Or is it the so-called Negro? You. Who is it? And what makes it so pitiful, many of our people would rather believe that the Jew is God's chosen people than to believe that they are God's chosen people. They would rather believe that God is going to save the Jew than to believe that God is going to save them. They would rather believe that the Jew is better than anybody else than to believe that they themselves are better than anybody else. This is a Negro. Wouldn't nobody else think like this but a Negro. Nobody else would put everybody else on top of him but the Negro. No one else would place himself below everyone else but the Negro. I mean, the American Negro. So look what God said, that the people would be strangers. The Jews aren't strangers. The Jews know their history. The Jews know their culture. The Jews know their language. They know everything there is to know about themselves. They know how to rob you. They know how to be your landlord. They know how to be your grocer. They know how to be your lawyer. They know how to join the NAACP and become the president. Right or wrong. They know how to control everything you got. You can't say they're lost. But the poor so-called Negro, he hasn't control over anything. He doesn't control the NAACP. He can't control the Urban League. He can't control Cora. He can't control his church. He can't control his own school. He can't control his own businesses and his own community. He can't even control his own mind. He's lost and lost control of himself and gone astray. So he fits the picture here that the Bible says concerning our people in the last day. Know for a surety that thy seed shall be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And you have served the white man. He haven't served you and me. Why, that you haven't served anybody here? You are the one that served. And they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward they shall come out with great substance. Oftentimes when you say this to the so-called Negro, some of them tell you that this is the Jew. But if you notice when Jesus was talking to the Jew way back here in John, he told them that if they shall know the truth and it'll make them free. The Jew popped up and says, how are you going to say we shall be made free? We have never been in bondage to anyone. Isn't that what the Jews told Jesus? Well, now look here. If the Jews told Jesus 2,000 years after Moses supposedly led the Hebrews out of bondage, that they had never been in bondage. Now, you know the Jews had Moses' history. They knew who Moses was. How could they stand up and tell Jesus they had never been in bondage? Because they had never been in bondage. Not these things that you call Jews. They weren't in Egypt. Those weren't the people that Moses led out of Egypt. And the Jew knows this. But the Bible is written in such a tricky way. When you read it, you think that Moses led the Jews out of bondage. But if you get a Jew in a good, solid conversation today and you know how to talk to him, he has to admit to you that it wasn't out of Egypt land that Moses brought them. It wasn't out of bondage that Moses brought them. It was out of somewhere else. And then where Moses really brought them is their secret. But thanks to Almighty God, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knows their secret. And he told it to us, and we're going to tell it to you. If the Bible says that God is going to judge that nation, the nation that enslaved his people, how will he keep from destroying his own people? Same Bible is a book of history. And in the 18th chapter of Deuteronomy, God told Moses, and in the 18th verse, God told Moses, I will raise them up a prophet. Talking about you and me. I'll raise them up a prophet just like thee, a prophet like Moses, whose mission it will be to do for you and me the same thing Moses did back then. It would be a prophet like Moses. And back when you get down into Malachi, he lets it be known that just before he comes to judge that nation, the name of the prophet or messenger whom he would send among the people, his name would be Elijah. It says, before the coming of that great and dreadful day, I'll send you Elijah. And Elijah's job will be to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children. What do you mean turn the hearts of the children to the fathers? The so-called Negroes are childlike people. We're like children. No matter how old you get, or how bold you get, or how wise you get, or how rich you get, or how educated you get, the white man still calls you what? Boy. Why, you're a child in his eyesight. And you are a child. Anytime you have to let another man set up a factory for you, and you can't set up a factory for yourself, you're a child. Anytime another man can open up businesses and you don't know how to go into businesses for yourself and your people, you're a child. Anytime another man sets up schools and you don't know how to set up your own schools, you're a child. Because a child is someone who sits around and waits for his father to do for him what he should be doing for himself, or what he's too young to do for himself, or what he's too dumb to do for himself. So the white man, knowing that here in America, all the Negro has done, and this is, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. All you and I have done is build churches and let the white man build factories. You and I build churches and let the white man build schools. You and I build churches and let the white man build up everything for himself. And then after we build a church, we got to go and beg the white man for a job and beg the white man for some education. Am I right or wrong? That's a shame. It's too bad, but it's true. And it's history. So it says that these childlike people who will be children following after the white man. It says in the last day that God will raise up Elijah. And Elijah's job will be to turn the hearts of these children back toward their fathers. Elijah will come and change our mind. He'll teach us something that'll turn us completely around. When Elijah finds us, we'll be easy to lead in the wrong direction, but hard to lead in the right direction. But when Elijah gets through teaching the lost sheep or the lost people of God, he'll turn them around. He'll change their mind. He'll put a bone in their back. He'll make them throw their shoulders back and stand upright like men for the first time. It says he'll turn the hearts of these children toward their fathers and the hearts of the fathers toward the children. This is something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is doing here in America today. You and I haven't thought in terms of our forefathers. We haven't thought of our fathers. Our fathers, brother, are back home. Our fathers are in the East. We run around here begging the great white father. You never hear black people in this country talking or speaking or thinking in terms of connecting themselves with their own kind back home. They're trying to make a contact with the white man. Pick up on that. That's true. Trying to make a contact, trying to make a connection with the white man. Trying to make a connection with a kidnapper who brought them here. Trying to make a connection with actually the man who enslaved them. You know, that's a shame. It's pitiful, but it's true. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that when Elijah comes, the book says, when Elijah comes, what Elijah would do would be to teach these people the truth. And the truth that Elijah would teach to the people would be so strong, it would make all this other stuff that the preachers are talking about sound like a fairy story. Elijah would open the people's eyes up so wide that from then on, a preacher couldn't talk to them. And this is really true. Do you know people have come to Muhammad's mosque, and no matter whether they believed in what Mr. Muhammad is saying or not, they never can go back and sit in the church. This is true. What the Honorable Elijah Muhammad does is turn on the light. And when he turns on the light, it enables us to see, to think, and to be able to see and think for ourselves. He shows us where the white man, what he has taught us concerning history has actually been a distortion. He's never given you and me true facts about history, neither about himself nor about our people. You know, I read a book one day called The Four Cities of Troy. You can go to the library, some library, and check it out. What was this based on? Show you what a liar the white man is. When I say liar, you have white people who are scientists, and they keep truths in their own circle. And they never let they never let the masses know anything about this truth that they keep in the circle. They got something else that they invent and put out for the masses to believe. But they themselves keep knowledge in the circle. So in this particular book, it pointed out that some archaeologists were delving in the ruins of the ancient city of Troy. And it's the practice of archaeologists, to dig. So in digging down into the ruins of Troy, they dug deeper than they intended to. And they ran into the ruins of another city that had been there so much longer ahead of this city of Troy that it had gone down beneath the sands of time. And they had built this city of Troy on top of it. And when these archaeologists were delving in the ruins of the ancient city, they learned that there was one that was there more ancient than that one. So they started frantically digging down in that one and dug below it into another one. And before they got through digging, they had dug down and they had discovered that civilization in that area had been there so far back into history that at different times in history, the civilization had been destroyed, had become completely covered up with sand and dirt, until another people came along and didn't even know it was there and built another civilization on top of that. This happened 4 different times to give you somewhat of an idea of what the white man knows concerning the length of time man has been on this earth. And still that white man will jump up in your face and try and make you believe that first man was made 6,000 years ago named Adam. And a lot of Negroes running around here talking about Adam. That's God caught him. God took some dust and breathed on it and told Adam, come forth. And there he was. Now, you know, that's a shame. It's all right when you were a little baby to believe that God made a little doll out of the sand or mud and breathed on it, and that was the first man. And when you were a child, it's all right to believe like that. But here in 1962, with all this information floating around in everybody's ears, you can get it free. Why, you should open up your mind and your head and your heart and realize that you have been led by lies. And today that it's time to listen to nothing but naked, undiluted truth. And when you know the truth, as Jesus says, truth will make you free. Abraham Lincoln won't make you free. Truth will make you free. When you know the truth, you're free. Also, you have your archaeologists, anthropologists, other forms of historians who agree, pretty well agree, that they don't know how long man has been on earth. That if they do know that he has been on earth longer than 6,000 years, and they know that man was not made just 6,000 years ago. They know this now, but a long time ago, they didn't know it. There was a time when they believed that man had less ribs than a woman. People believed that because they said that God made Eve from one of Adam's ribs. So Adam had a rib missing. And they actually ran around here believing that man had one less rib. And, you know, they were shook up when they really got into the science of anatomy and discovered that man, all his ribs were there. And they began to wonder then what happened there in the Bible. That's a shame, brother. How long has man been here? In the Bible, in the first chapter of Genesis, and in the 26th verse, after God had made everything else, it says here, and God said, let us make man. Let me write what God said here on the board. Look what God said, brother. I don't think you've ever looked at this. And it says, and God said, let us make man. The key word here is what? Yes. What does us mean? More than one. Who was God talking to? If God was all by himself and no one was there but him, who was he talking to when he said, let us make man? Who was here with God that was about to help him make this man? When God was getting ready to make the sun, he didn't say, let us make some sun. He said, let there be light. And here the sun, a ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 853,000 miles in diameter, 14,172 degrees hot, and God can say, let there be, and that big ball of fire pop up in the universe with no help. Now, you know something is wrong. It should be harder to make that than a man. A huge ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 14,172 degrees hot. That's a whole lot of heat. And God said, let there be, and it just jumped up into the universe. He didn't ask for no help. He said, let there be this and let there be that. He had so much power that everything he wanted came into existence. As soon as he said be, there it was. But when he got to the man, something happened. He said, let us make man. Someone else was there then, wasn't there? That's something to think about. We'll let you think about it for a minute. The white man's world is a newer world than the black man's world. If this man that they said that they were about to make, and he said we'll make him how? In our image, showing you that there's somebody there with him. In our likeness, showing you that still somebody is there with him. Let us make man in our image and in our likeness. Let us make him look like us. He won't be the same as we are. He'll be our image. That's God talking, right? He's talking to somebody. You know, I'm thankful to Allah for raising up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and making us see these things that we could never see before. The birth of the white race has always been a secret. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the birth of the white race is shrouded in the story of Adam. The story of Adam hides the birth of the white race. And because you and I have never been taught to look into a thing and analyze a thing, we took the story of Adam exactly as it was and thought that God made a man named Adam 6,000 years ago. But today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that that man, Adam, was a white man. But before Adam was made, the black man was already here. And that's not easy. That's not hard to see. The black man always deceived. The white man will even tell you that. Because he refers to Adam as the first one. He refers to the Adamites as those who came from that first one. And he refers to the pre-Adamites as those who were here before Adam. Right or wrong? Those people that were here before Adam. And he always refers to these people as aborigines, which means what? Black folks. You never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. It's two Latin words. Ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning. And aborigine is only the term applied to those dark-skinned people who have been on this earth since the beginning of the universe. You know, that's going way back. He said, what you mean, since the beginning of the universe? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that just as we pointed out there a moment ago, the black man has been here a long time. He never has had a beginning, but the white man has never had a knowledge of the history of the black man. It's like a father and a son. If the father is 50 years old and the son is only 10, the father knows everything there is to know about his son because he was here before his son was born. The son only knows what has happened during his own 10 years. He only knows what went on before his arrival from what his father tells him. It's the same way with the black man and the white man. The black man's been here a long time, but the white man has been here a short time. Now, the white man only knows about himself what he's been told, and he hasn't been told anything. He came to himself up in the caves of Europe. He can't get any information that goes beyond the caves. And since you and I fell into his trap and was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him, now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. Us too. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that back 66 trillion years ago. Trillion, how much is trillion? Not hundreds, but nor thousands, nor millions, nor billions. But 66 trillion years ago, the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the 36 million miles from the sun is a planet called Mercury, and 67,200,000 miles from the sun. Another sun is, from the sun is another planet called Venus, and 93 million miles from the sun is the planet here that you and I live on called Earth. 141,500,000 miles out here is a planet called Mars, and 483 million miles from the sun is a planet called Jupiter, and 886 million miles from the sun is a planet called Saturn, and on down the road a piece are a couple more planets. So right here, this planet that this planet that you and I live on called Earth, that rotates around the sun. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that 66 trillion years ago, our people were living on this planet. The black man was living on this planet. But in those days, it was larger than it is now. And the planet Mars that was off here beyond us had an effect upon our planet then in the same manner that the moon affects us today. At that time, there was no moon up there. Where was the moon? The moon was down here. The moon was part of this planet. The moon and this planet were one planet. And the black man was living here then. He was a scientist. He was a wise black man. Black men have always been wise. Black man has always been the wisest being in the universe. And among these beings, black beings, there is one who is supreme. He's referred to as the supreme being. Do you understand? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that a wise black scientist 66 trillion years ago began to argue with the other scientists because there was something he wanted the people of Earth to speak a certain language. And because they wouldn't agree, he wanted to destroy civilization. So this scientist drilled a shaft into the center of the Earth and filled it with high explosives and set it off. He was trying to destroy civilization. He was trying to destroy the black man. But you can't destroy the black man. The black man can't destroy himself. The black man has the most powerful brain in the universe. There is no intelligence more powerful than the intelligence of the black man. And because of this, the black man can't even create a thought that will destroy him. He's indestructible. You can blow up everything and the black man will still be here. You just can't get away from him, brother. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said they filled the earth, the planet, with high explosives and set it off. And when it was exploded, the piece that you and I today call moon was tossed out here into space, and it rotated around the earth. It still rotates around the earth. It came from the earth. It was blasted right out from the earth. And as it was blasted out from the earth, it turned over and over and over, and all of the water that was on it came along with the earth, stayed with the earth, so that the piece that was blasted out there has no water on it today. And because it has no water on it, it has no civilization on it, has no life on it. You can't have life where there's no water. Water is the source of life. Where there's no water, there's no life. Where there's no life, there's no civilization. Can you understand that? So this dead piece, called moon by us today, turning over and over and over, losing all of its water, all of the water coming with this piece. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that this piece, the earth that we remained on, shifted 36, it dropped 36,000 miles in the pocket that we remained in. And as it dropped, and all of the water came with it, it left a situation where today he says the earth that we now live on weighs 6 sextillion tons. The weight of it is 6 sextillion tons. And as it makes its way around the sun, the strong power of the sun's rays striking the equator causes the planet to turn on its own axis at the speed of 1,137 and a third miles per hour. Now you would say that, and he teaches us that the square mileage of the earth is 196,940,000 square miles, which means only 57,255,000 square miles of land stick up out of 139,785,000 square miles of water. 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered with water, part of the water that left the moon and came with the earth. So you may say, well, how come, since it's the natural law for water to seek its own level, why doesn't it overrun the land? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that as the earth speeds around the sun, turning on this axis 1,037 and a third miles per hour, it creates gravity, and the strong attracting power of the sun pulls on the waters of the earth, pulls them up into the sun and up into the earth atmosphere in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect. And as this water gathers in the earth's atmosphere, it then distills and comes back to earth. After it gets heavier than the atmosphere in which it is in, it distills and comes back to the earth in the form of water, hail, or rain, or snow. All of the water that you see coming out the sky went up into the sky. Everything is coming down on the earth got up there by leaving the earth. Do you understand? And he teaches us that it comes back down in the form of hail or rain or snow or whatever else you have, depending upon the temperature of the current of atmosphere that it was in. He says that at night the gravitational pull of the moon takes over. And because the power of the moon is not as great as that of the sun, once the attracting power of the sun is absent at night, then the moon takes over. And since it can't pull the waters up like the sun does, it still has that magnetic pull, and it causes the waves that you see out there on the oceans to churn. This is the moon that does that. The moon makes the waves go up and down. It never lets them level out. If it leveled out, it would overrun the land. It also causes the shifting of the tides. This is the pull of the moon upon the waters of the earth. If it weren't for the attracting power of the sun and the moon upon the earth, why, the waters would overrun the land and drown out civilization. All of this was done by man himself, not some mystery God, but a black man set this up. And you and I have been running around here in the trap that the white man put us in, thinking that the only one who can do anything either is a mystery God, and what the mystery God doesn't do, the white man does. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that all the time that this was going on, there was no white man. White man was nowhere on the scene. He says that when the moon was blasted away and we came along with the earth, in fact, one tribe was destroyed. Prior to the time that the explosion took place, there were 13 tribes. In the explosion set off 66 trillion years ago, the 13th tribe was destroyed. And then all of the time down through the wheel of time since then, there were 12 tribes until 6,000 years ago. And 6,000 years ago, a scientist named Yakub created another tribe on this earth. Understand? Prior to the time the explosion took place, there were 13 tribes. But the 13th tribe was destroyed in that explosion. And from then until now, just 6,000 years ago, another tribe came on the scene. It was made, different from all of the 12 tribes that were here when it arrived. A new tribe, a weak tribe, a wicked tribe, a devilish tribe, a diabolical tribe, a tribe that is devilish by nature. So, but before they got on the scene, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when we came with the earth, the oldest city on earth is the holy city of Mecca in Arabia. Mecca is the oldest city on earth. Mecca is the city that is forbidden. No one can go there but the black man. No one can go there but the Muslim. No one can go there but the believer. No one can go there but the righteous. And at Mecca are kept the records of history that go on back into the beginning of time. He says that 50,000 years ago, another scientist named Shabazz became angry with the scientists of his day. He wanted to bring about a tougher people. He wanted the people to undergo a form of life that would make them tough and hard, and the other scientists wouldn't agree with him. So this scientist named Shabazz took his family and wandered down into the jungles of Africa. Prior to that time, no one lived in the jungles. Our people were soft. They were black, but they were soft and delicate. Fine. They had straight hair. Right here on this earth. You find some of them look like that right today. They are black as night, but their hair is like silk. And originally, all our people had that kind of hair. But this scientist took his family down into the jungles of Africa, and there, living in the open, and living a jungle life, eating all kinds of food, it had an effect on the appearance of our people. Actually, living in the rough sun, in the rough climate, our hair became stiff, like it is now. We undertook new features that we have now. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the only hair that the black man has today that looks now like it looked prior to 50,000 years ago is your and my eyebrows. Right here, you notice all Negroes got straight, don't care how nappy their head is, they got straight eyebrows. Some of them, when you see a nappy eyebrow Negro, you got somebody. But all of this took place back in history, and everything the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches is based on history. Now then, where does the white man come in? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the wise black man who was a master of science, he never wrote his history like it's written today of the past, but the wise black man in that day wrote his history in the future. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the circumference of the earth is 24,896 miles, approximately 25,000 miles. So he says the wise black man in the East writes history a year to every mile. He writes history to last for 25,000 years, not in the past, but in the future. He says that on this earth there are wise black men who can tune in and tell what's going to happen in the future just as clear. They can see ahead just as clear as they can see in the past. And every 25,000 years, he says that civilization reaches its peak or reaches a perfection. And at this time, the wise black man can hear a pin drop anywhere on the planet Earth. And they sit down and write history to last for 25,000 years. After this history has expired, they put it in a vault at the holy city of Mecca and write a new history. This has been going on and on and on and on and on. So he says, in the year one of the cycle in which we now live, the king, he says, in the East there are 24 wise men. They're spoken of in the Bible as 24 elders, or 24 prophets, or 24. Muhammad says that when these 23 men are called together by this one, which makes 24. And these 24, these 23, presided over by the 24th, are spoken of in the book of Revelations, where John said he had a vision in heaven, for there was the throne. And around the throne were 24 seats, and on the seats sat 24 elders. These 24 elders that are called angels are actually 24 wise black men who live right here on this earth, but no one knows who they are. At the end of every 25,000 years, this one calls all of them into conference. And they sit down at the holy city of Mecca. And he informs them that the history for the past 25,000 years has expired. And it's time to write a new history. So these scientists begin to tune in on the population of the planet Earth. And he says that back in this day, at that time, there were 5 billion people on this earth, all of them black. Not a white man in sight. 5 billion people, not a white man in sight. So he says that when these 24 scientists begin to tune in, they look down through the wheel of time. They can tell not only what the people on this earth are thinking, but they can tell what their children are thinking, what their unborn children's children are thinking, what their unborn children's children's children are thinking. They can look right down through the wheel of time and tell minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, for 25,000 years, exactly what is going to take place. And they discovered that in the year 8,400 to come, they would register among the 5 billion black people, 70% would be satisfied, and 30% would be dissatisfied. And out of that 30% would be born a wise black scientist named Yaqub. And Yaqub would teach among these 30% dissatisfied, from whom he would come and create a new race, start a new world, and a new civilization that would rule this earth for 6,000 years to come. So they brought these findings back to the king. It was put in the book. And by the way, that which is written to last for 25 years is called Holy Quran. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that this was put into the history, and then when the year 8,400 came, Yaqub was born. When Yaqub reached the age of 6 years old, he was playing in the sand one day with 2 pieces of metal, 2 pieces of steel. At which time he discovered what is known as the law of magnetism, that unlike attracts and like repels. 2 objects that are alike repel each other, like 2 women repel each other. But man and woman attract each other. Unlike attract and like repel. Yaqub discovered this. So Yaqub knew that all he had to do was make a man unlike any other people on this earth, and because he would be different, he would attract all other people. And then he could teach this man a science called tricknology, which is the science of tricks and lies. And that this weak man would be able to use that science to trick and rob and rule the world. So Yaakov turned to his uncle and said, when I grow up, I'm going to make a man who will rule you. And Yaakov's uncle said, what can you make other than that which will cause bloodshed and wickedness in the land? And Yaakov pointed to his head and said, I know that which you know not. Yaakov was born with a determined idea to make this man, because it had been predicted 8,400 years prior to his birth that he would be born to do this work. So he was born with this idea in him. And when his uncle realized that this was he about whom it was prophesied, his uncle submitted. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Yaakov went to school in the East. He studied the astronomical sciences, mathematical sciences, and the germination of man. He discovered that in the black man, there are two germs. In the black man, there's a brown man. In the black man, or the black germ, which is the strong germ, there's a weak germ, a brown germ. Yaakov was the first one to discover this. And Yaakov knew that by separating that brown one from the black one, and then grafting the brown one until it became lighter and lighter and lighter, it would eventually reach its lightest stage, which is known as white. And when it got to that stage, it would be weak. And because it was weak, it would be susceptible to wickedness. And then Yaakov could take that weak man that he made and teach him how to lie and rob and cheat, and thereby become the ruler of all the rest of the world. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Yaakov began to preach. At the age of 16, he began to preach over there in Arabia, in the East. He preached among the 30% who were dissatisfied and got many of them to follow him. As they began to listen to Yaakov's teachings and believe it, his teaching spread. His followers grew, and it created confusion in the land. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that so much confusion came into existence over there that they threw Yaakov's followers in jail. And as fast as they were thrown in jail, they taught more people. So the teaching spread in jail. Finally, Yaakov was put in jail under an alias. And one day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the thing began to get out of hand. And the authorities went to the king and told him that they couldn't control these people, but that they had the leader of the people in jail right now. And the king said, take me to him. And when the king went to the jail where Yaakov was, he greeted Yaakov. I said, Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Yaakov. I know you're Mr. Yaakov. And Yaakov said, Wa alaikum salam, I am Yaakov. And the king said, look, I come to make an agreement with you. I know that you are the one that it is written or predicted would be on the scene in this day and would create a new race, and there's nothing we can do to stop you. But in order for us to have peace, we want to make an agreement with you. In order to stop the confusion, and for there to be some peace in the land, we want you to agree to take all who will follow you and exile yourself out on an island in the Aegean Sea. Yaakov told them, I'll go, but you've got to give me everything that I will need to bring into existence a new civilization. You've got to give me everything I'll need, that which will last me. You got to supply me with everything I need for the next 20 years. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the king agreed with Yaakov to supply him. The government of that day agreed to supply Yaakov and his followers with everything that they need for 20 years. And he says that you get this in the Bible where it says Jacob wrestled with the angel. Jacob was Yaakov. And the angel that Jacob wrestled with wasn't God. It was the government of that day. Angel only means a power, or somebody with power. When a man has wings, or when a man has his wings clipped, you say that he lost his power, lost his position. So wings only mean a position of power and prestige. So when it says that Yaakov wrestled with the angel, angel is only used as a symbol to hide who it was Jacob was really wrestling with. Jacob was wrestling with the government of that day. And he made the government of that day give him everything he needs to last him and his followers for 20 years. Just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling the government of this day that they got to give us everything we need in our own separate territory to last us for 20 to 25 years. You say, well, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Yaakov agreed, the government agreed. Yaakov took all of his followers down to the sea. And he says that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Yaakov took 59,999 of his followers down to the seaside, with himself made 60,000. He piled them in boats and took them out to an island in the Aegean Sea called Pilon. In the Bible, it's called Patmos. When you read in the book of Revelations where John on the island of Patmos for the word of the Lord, that was Yaakov. What was John doing on the island of Patmos? John was Yaakov. John was out there getting ready to make a new race. He says, for the word of the Lord. What was the word of the Lord? The word was that in the year 8,400, a new man would be made. a new race would be made. And when Yaqub and his followers got out there, his followers realized that Yaqub was wiser than any man of his day. And they recognized him as a God. He was a God to them. So when you look there in the Bible where it says, and God said, let us make man, that was Yaqub too. Not the supreme being. It wasn't the supreme being who made the sun that said, let us make man. When the supreme being made the sun, he said, let there be light. He showed he was supreme. He was independent. He needed no help, no associate. But when it comes to making a man, that God said, let us make man. He didn't speak with independence because there were two different gods. God, the supreme being, made the light. His word is being. That's how he makes things. But Yaqub, who was a lesser God, he said to 59,999 of his followers, let us make man. Let us make a man in our image and in our likeness. We're going to make a white man. Yaqub, this was Yaqub talking. Make him in our image and in our likeness and give him dominion over the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea and the creatures of the land. And we call him Adam. It's only a name for the white man. The white man has taken mastery over the air. His airplanes rule the sky. His submarines and ships rule the sea.Is armies rule the land. This was the man that was made 6,000 years ago, and the purpose for making him was so he could rule the world for 6,000 years. That's the white man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that first thing Yaqub did, he got his ministers, doctors, nurses, and cremators together. He gave them the law because he had to set up a birth control law. He told the doctors, whenever two black ones come to you to get married, stick a needle in their vein, take some blood, and go back and come and tell them that their blood doesn't match so that they can't get married. So he also said when a black one and a brown one comes, let them get married. Or two brown ones come, let them get married. And then he told the nurse 9 months after they're married, when you go to deliver their child, if it's a black child, put a needle in its brain and feed it to a wild animal or to the cremator. Let it be destroyed. But if it's a brown child, take that child to the mother and tell her that this is going to be a great man when he grows up because he's lighter than the others. But they tell her that the child that you destroyed was an angel baby and that it went up to heaven to prepare a place for her when she died. Same old lie that they tell you today. Little baby died and said went to heaven. Baby died, goes to the same place the man goes when he dies, right down into the ground. Is that right or wrong? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us that Yaqub right there set up his birth control law. Within 200 years, they had killed off all the black babies on the island. Everything black on the island had been destroyed. And then Yaqub only lived to 150 years old, but he left laws and rules and regulations behind for his followers to go by. And after they had destroyed all of the black on the island of Pilar, then they began to work on the brown. They'd save the yellow and destroy the brown. Because see, in the black, there's brown. In the brown, there's yellow. Can you see how it goes? The darkest one always has a lighter one in it. So in the black man, there's a brown man. In the brown man, there's a yellow man. In the yellow man, there's what? A white man. Oh, yes. Getting weaker all the time. So it took 200 years to destroy the black. And then they worked on the brown for 200 years. And in 200 years, all the brown was destroyed. And all they had on the island of Pilar was a yellow or mulatto-looking civilization. And then they went to work on it and began to destroy it out so that by the time after 600 years of destruction on the island of Pilar, they had grafted away the black, grafted away the brown, grafted away the yellow, and all they had left was a pale-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired thing that you call a man, but actually the Bible calls him the devil. That's the devil that the Bible is talking about. Oh, Lucifer, Satan, or the serpent. Because the lighter they got, the weaker they got. As they began to get lighter and lighter, they grew weaker and weaker. Their blood became weaker. Their bones became weaker. Their mind became weaker. Their morals became weaker. They became a wicked race. By nature, wicked. Why by nature? The book says concerning the devil, he says he was conceived in iniquity and born in sin. What does it mean? That it took when Yaqub was when the nurses at the outstart, the nurses had to kill the little black babies. But after a while, it got so that the mother, through having been brainwashed, hated that black one so much she killed it herself. Killed it herself and saved the light one. And right on down for 600 years. In order for the white one to come into existence, the darker one was always murdered. This went right into the nature. of the child that was being born. The mother wanted a light baby when the child was being conceived. Just went right into the baby. The mother hated black when the child was being conceived. Just went right into the baby. So that at the end of 600 years of planting the seed of iniquity right into the brain, right into the mind, right into the heart, right into the nature of these people, by the time they got the white man, they had something that by nature hated everything that was darker than what he was. Why, they had to murder off the black in order to get to the brown. They had to murder off the brown in order to get to the yellow. They had to murder off the black, brown, and yellow in order to get to the white. And right to this very day, the white man by nature wants to murder black, brown, red, and yellow. You don't have to teach him to kill a black man. He does it for sport. He does it for kicks. He does it because it's nature to do it. Do you understand that? So in 600 years, now they got a devil on the scene. A blue-eyed devil. A blind-haired, oh yeah. They was out here on the island of Pilon. After Yaqub was dead. Yaqub was their father, but he never saw them. They never saw him. When the Bible, Yaqub was their God. When the Bible says no man has seen God, that's what it means. No white man has seen their God. None of them saw Yaqub because Yaqub only lived to be 150 years. It don't mean that no man can see God, the supreme being. While the book of Revelations says when he comes, every eye will see him. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that after these devils got grafted, now we're not going to call them white anymore, we call them what they are. Well, white, that's their color. But devil, that's what they are. These aren't white people. See, you're not using the right language when you say the white man. You call him devil. When you call him devil, you call him by his name. Then he got another name, Satan. Another name, serpent. Another name, snake. Another name, beast. All these names are in the Bible for the white man. Another name, Pharaoh. Another name, Caesar. Another name, Frenchman, Englishman, American. All those are just names for the devil. So after they were out there for 600, after they had been made and grafted, and Yaqub was dead, then they packed up the bags and made it back into civilization. Yaqub had left them some laws how to go by. He left them a science called tricknology, how to divide and conquer. Yaqub told these people in his books, all you got to do to take over the world is lie. Go back among the black people. Take your woman and send her to the black man's woman. And let her lie about the neighbor across the street. And then send another woman to that woman to lie on this woman to that woman. And when they get through spreading those lies, and they all start fighting and killing one another, you tell them, let you be the mediator. This is the trick the white man used. It all comes from Yaqub. See, he's an underdog. He's a minority. And the only way a minority can rule a majority is got to divide the majority. This is the trick that the white man was born to execute among dark mankind here on this earth. Yaqub said, when you go back among them, lie one on the other, and when they start fighting each other, ask them to let you be the mediator. And as soon as you become the mediator, then you're the boss. White man has done this trick everywhere. Here in America, to the Indians. He'd send one priest to the Indians in New York, and another priest to the Indians in Pennsylvania. And both of them would tell lies to both Indians. And the Indians who had never been at war with each other would start beating the tom-tom, the war drum. And then as they got ready to come together and fight, the priest would run in and say, let me be the mediator. The New York Indians, you move out to Minnesota. And the Pennsylvania Indians, you move out to Oklahoma. That would leave the whole state of New York and Pennsylvania for the white man. You see how he does it? He's all over the world. He does it. He's a mediator. He's an instigator and a mediator. He instigates division and dissension. And as soon as they start fighting one another, he says, okay, I'll stop it. If you don't think so, look all over the world right now. Every place on this earth, you got a division. South Korea, North Korea. South Vietnam, North Vietnam. Right or wrong? He is the one that makes this division. He don't let nobody get together. But when it comes to his kind, it's united. United States, meaning all white people are united. United States of Europe, or European Common Market, they want to get together. But when you start talking about the United States of Asia or United States of Africa, well, he said, oh, no, too many different languages. Y'all don't have nothing in common. You see how he does it? He always discourages the unity among others. but he encourages unity among his own kind. United we stand. That don't mean you. You are your hair. Yeah, old Negro jump up and say, yeah, united we stand. They don't mean you. That means the white man. The white man is the one who stands united. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that these devils went back into Arabia. When they got there, they started telling lies. They started confusion. And in 6 months' time, they had turned heaven into hell. Oh yeah, had so much fighting going on among our people, brother, it became hell. We never did fight each other. We loved each other. We're in harmony with each other. And when these devils came back into our midst, they turned our paradise into a hell. So it was taken to the king, and the king looked in the book and said, well, these are Yaqub's people. They were made to do what they're doing, and the only way we'll have peace is to get rid of all of them, put them all to death. So the king gave the order for all of the devils to be rounded up. And by devil now I mean all those blue-eyed, blonde-haired white things. He gave orders for them to be rounded up. They're in the east. And they were rounded up. They were rounded up and taken down to the edge of the Arabian desert. They were stripped naked, stripped of everything except their language. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that we put a lambskin apron around their waist to hide their nakedness. We put them in chains and marched them across the hot sands of the Arabian desert. This is what the black man did to the white man, brother. This is what the gods did to the devils. Actually, and if you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, those of you who are Masons, those of you who have gone into the Masons, you go through this and don't understand. When you go in, they put a lambskin apron around your waist. They put you in what's called the cable tow, right or wrong. And then they make you jump up and down on an electric mat. Make you take off your shoes and make you put the juice in the mat and make you jump up and down. Why? What are they getting at? That's all a sign of what happened to the white man 6,000 years ago. If this don't have nothing to do with you, but you're supposed to be walking the hot sands when you jump up and down. Right or wrong? You all been in some of that stuff. They tell you that that's crossing the hot sand. And you go up to old Negro Mason and ask him, when you cross the hot sands, were you walking or riding? He tell you, I was walking. He's a fool. Because he was riding. He was riding horseback. He was riding on a camel. It was the white man that was in chains. It was the white man that had the apron around it. It was the white man that was walking the hot sands. We walked him at high noon. We wouldn't even let him walk at night. We stopped at night. And you know how hot the sands are, the sun and the sand is in Arabia. We expected the white man to die when we were running him out of the east. But that fool lived, brother. He lived. A lot of them died on the desert. And I might come back. In the Masonic. All of this is tied up in the Masonic ritual. When a man gets initiated into the higher degrees of that order, he goes through this. They put on the chains, they put on the apron, and they darken him up and pretend to be driving him across. And then when he gets up to the top order in those degrees, they tell him what it means. As a white man, they tell the white man what it means. A white Shriner or a white Mason what it means. The Negro never learns what it means. But it actually points back toward the time when the white man, who is the devil, or Adam, as they say, was cast out of the garden. When the Bible says Adam sinned and was cast out of the garden, this is what it is meant. And an angel was put at the east gate to keep him from coming back in when the white man was run out of the east by the Muslims 6,000 years ago into the caves of Europe. The people called Turks were put there at the straits of the Dardanelles with swords. And any old devil that they caught trying to come back across the water, off went his head. The book tells you that the angel had a flaming sword. And anytime any of them tried to come back across, they were put to death. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the white man went down into the caves of Europe and lived there for 2,000 years on his all fours. Within 1,000 years after he had gotten up there, he was on his all fours. Couldn't stand upright. You watch your old cracker today. Crackers don't walk upright like black people do. They about to, every time you look at them, they look like they're going right down on their all fours. But those who have had some education, they straighten up a little bit because they're taught how to straighten up. But a black man can be the most dumb, illiterate thing you can find anywhere, and he still walk like $1 million. Because by nature, he's upright. By nature, he stands up. But a white man got to be stood up. You got to put a white man on the square, but the black man is born on the square. Can we prove it? Yes. You notice in the East, dark people carry things on the head, don't they? Just throw it up there and walk with it, showing you they have perfect poise, perfect balance. This comes natural to them. You and I lost our poise. You can't even wear a hat on your head hardly today. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that within 1,000 years after the white people were up in the caves, they were on their all fours, and they were living in the outdoors where it's cold, just as cold over there as it is outside right now. They didn't have clothes. So by being out there in the cold, the hair got longer and longer. Hair grew out all over their body. By being on their all fours, the end of their spine began to grow. They grew a little tail that come out from the end of their spine. Oh yes, this was the white man, brother, up in the caves of Europe. He had a tail that long. You ever notice anything that walk on its all fours has a tail? That which straighten up don't have a tail. Because that when you get down, see, it just make that spine come right on out. And by him being on up there just like a dog, he was crawling around up there. He was hairy as a dog. He had a tail like a dog. He had a smell like a dog. And couldn't nothing get along with him but another dog. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that all the beasts up in Europe wanted to kill the white man. Oh yeah, they tried to kill the white man. They were after the white man. They hated the white man. So it says that what the white man would do, he'd dig a hole in the hill. That was his cave. And his mother and his daughter and his wife would all be in there with the dog. The only thing that made friends with the white man was the dog. Everything else hated him. He'd sit outside the cave at night in a tree with rocks in his hand. And if any bees come up to try and get in the cave at his family, he'd throw rocks at them. Or he'd have a club that he'd swing down and try and drive them away with. But the dog stayed in the cave with his family. The dog, and it was then, during that time, that the dog and the white woman amalgamated. The white woman went with the dog while they were living in the caves of Europe. And right to this very day, the white woman will tell you there ain't nothing she loves better than a dog. They tell you that a dog is a man's best friend. A dog isn't a black man's best friend. God is a black man's best friend. And a dog is the white man's best friend. They lived in that cave with those dogs. And right now, they got that dog smell. They got their dog lovers. Dog can get inside a white man's house and eat at his table. Lick out of his plate. They'll kiss a dog right on the nose and think nothing of it. You're not a dog kisser. You don't see no black people kissing and rubbing noses with a dog. But little white children will hug dogs and kiss dogs and eat with dogs. Am I right or wrong? You all been inside the kitchen cooking their food and making their bed. You know how they live in there. The dog will live right inside the white man's house better than you can. If you try and break your way in there, they put a rope around your neck. But the dog has got free run of the whole house. He's a white man's best friend. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that they lived up there like that for 2,000 years. And at the end of 2,000, it was at the end of 2,000 years that the scientists in the East, realizing that it was originally predicted that the white race would rule for 6,000 years and that they had already lost 2,000 years in the caves of Europe, they sent a prophet up there from Mecca to teach the white race, this race of devils, how to become civilized again and get up on become upright and come back and rule like they had originally been made to. The name of that prophet was Moses. And this is why you have so many of what they call the secret books of Moses. Moses never went down into Egypt. Moses went into the caves of Europe and civilized the white man. It was Moses who went into Egypt and went into Europe, into the caves, and what we call raised the devil from a dead level to a perpendicular and placed them on the square. Moses taught the white man how to cook his food. Moses taught the white man how to build a house for himself. He taught the white man also some of the technology that Yaakov had originally meant for them. And it was Moses who put the white man back on the road towards civilization and told him that he's supposed to rule for 6,000 years, that much of his time had already been lost, but at the end of time, one would come who would destroy the whole white race. Moses taught them this. And this is why when the Jews, 2,000 years later, the Jews were looking for the Messiah, and they thought that Jesus was the Messiah. And they put him to death because they knew when the Messiah comes that the Messiah was going to destroy that whole race of devils. The Jews knew this. So they put him to death, thinking that they could stop him from destroying them. But actually they made a mistake because Jesus 2,000 years ago wasn't the Messiah. Their time wasn't up 2,000 years ago. Their time would not be up until 2,000 years later, the day and time that we're living in right now. So, brothers and sisters, my time has expired. I just wanted to point out that the white man, a race of devils, was made 6,000 years ago. This doesn't mean that to tell you that they were made, that this implies any kind of hate. They're just a race of devils. They were made 6,000 years ago. They were made to rule for 6,000 years. Their time expired in the year 1914. The only reason God didn't remove them then was because you and I were here in their clutches. And God gave them an extension of time. For not them an extension of time, but they received an extension of time to give the wise men of the East the opportunity to get into this house of bondage and awaken the lost sheep. Once the American so-called Negroes have been awakened to the knowledge of themselves and of their own God and of the white man, then they're on their own. It's left up to you and me then whether we want to integrate into this wicked race or leave them and separate and go to our own. And if we integrate, we'll be destroyed along with them. If we separate, then we have a chance for salvation. So on that note, in the name of Allah and His Messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I bring my talk to a close. Salam alaikum.
Okay, let me pause right here. Wow. My God. I have never heard that version of creation. But you know, in this first speech, because I'm going to play the second speech for you guys. It's not that much. It's a few minutes of the second speech, and he was speaking, like I said, in 1962 in Harlem, speaking to the Fruit of Islam, now known as the Nation of Islam. He was speaking to the parishioners there in Mosque number 7. Wow, that is powerful. I have never heard anything like that before in my whole entire life. But it actually, if you think about it, coincides with a couple of versions in the Bible, as well as the Orisha, as well as the story of Horus. I mean, it really coincides if you really think about it. So, and I told you guys before, I am a theology buff. I never discount anything in a theological realm. I also believe that at some points in this story, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking in allegory. Do you see what I'm saying? Just like the King James Version of the Bible, much of the King James Version of the Bible is taught in allegory. There is a book, a study guide, even beside the Torah, and it's called the Talmud, and a lot of that is allegorical. And so for that reason, I don't set aside anything. I wasn't there. I don't know, but my God, it is powerful to hear something like this. We don't have teachers like this anymore. That is another reason why I wanted to share this never before broadcast rare audio of Malcolm X speaking. Like I said, it was recorded by one of his close friends. He was Brother Malcolm instructed his close friend and parishioner, Brother Ben X, at the time to record this for him. And I can understand why it was never broadcast via the mass media. Honey, they can't have no teaching like this out for everybody. Do you see what I'm saying? Especially you can't have teachers like this out for black people. Can you imagine, in every church you would go to, like in 2020, you have strong black men speaking this way? Can you imagine how far we would be? In our fight to end oppression and to get out from underneath white supremacy, racism, if you still to this day had people teaching us and our children in this type of way, can you imagine what power you would feel, just permeating inside you when you hear a man such as a Malcolm X speak in this manner? Like, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. And now we know why, they saw fit to assassinate, Malcolm X. Do you see what I'm saying? You understand why, they did what they did, not only to Malcolm X, but a whole lot of our leaders, of the past. You see what I'm saying? Thank you, Crystal. Crystal said this is so needed today, but I really want to share this speech with you guys. So I know we've been on for over an hour, and thank you guys for sticking with me. Let me go into the next speech. Now, like I said earlier, the second speech is a little bit of it. And it is this is Malcolm X speaking actually at a Baptist church. He very rarely, spoke in a Baptist church. I mean, he is Muslim. Do you see what I'm saying? He was right up under Elijah Muhammad, for goodness sake, okay? He was the Fruit of Islam. He was the face of the Fruit of Islam, before he was, assassinated. But anyway, at this point, in this rare speech, in this rare footage, he is speaking at Adam Clayton Powell's Abilene Baptist Church. And like I said, if you don't know who Adam Clayton Powell is, please Google him. He was then what we know today. He was that era's version of Al Sharpton, should I just say? Okay, he's a very interesting figure. Okay, he's very, very interesting. But anyway, not only was he a Baptist minister, he was also a politician. Okay, and like I said, he was the back in the day version of Albert, Al Sharpton. Anyway, so now let me play this for you guys. And in this version, like I said, he was speaking on. We just heard him speak on, creation. I have never heard that version of creation, but it was absolutely powerful. Do you see what I'm saying? And in this version, in this speech right here, he's going to be speaking on integration, separation, as well as reparation. Okay, so thank you guys for joining me. Please hit the like button if you haven't. Please continue to listen. My God, like I love Malcolm X. My goodness. But anyway, here we go. This is the second speech.
Minister Malcolm X, the Black Malcolm. Dr. Cole, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, friends, and even our enemies. As a follower and minister of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the messenger of Allah to the American so-called Negroes, I am very happy to accept Dr. Cowell's invitation to speak here this evening at the Abyssinian Baptist Church and to express, or at least try to represent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's views on this most timely topic, the Black Revolution. First, however, there are some questions that we have to put to you. Since the black masses here in America are now in open revolt against the American system of segregation, will these same black masses turn toward integration, or will they turn toward complete separation? Will these awakened black masses demand integration into the white society that enslaved them, or will they demand complete separation from that cruel white society that has enslaved them? Will the exploited and oppressed black masses seek integration with their white exploiters and white oppressors, or will these awakened black masses truly revolt and separate themselves completely from this wicked race that has enslaved us? These are just some quick questions that I think will provoke some thought in your mind and my mind. How can the so-called Negroes who call themselves enlightened leaders expect the poor black sheep to integrate into a society of bloodthirsty white wolves? White wolves that have already been sucking our blood for over 400 years here in America. Or will these black sheep also revolt against the thought shepherd, the hand-picked Uncle Tom Negro leader, and seek complete separation so that we can escape from the den of the wolf rather than be integrated with wolves in this wolf den? since we are in church, and most of us here profess to believe in God, there's another question. When the good shepherd comes, will he integrate his long-lost sheep with white wolves? According to the Bible, when God comes, he won't even let his sheep integrate with goats. And if his sheep can't be safely integrated with goats, they certainly aren't safe integrated with wolves. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that no people on earth fit the Bible's symbolic picture about the lost sheep more so than America's 20 million so-called Negroes. And there has never in history been a more vicious and bloodthirsty wolf than the American white man. He teaches us that for 400 years, America has been nothing but a wolf den for 20 million so-called Negroes, 20 million second-class citizens. And this black revolution that is developing against the white wolf today is developing because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a God-sent shepherd, has opened the eyes of our people, and the black masses can now see that we have all been here in this white doghouse long too long. The black masses don't want to integrate. The masses want to separate. We don't want segregation, nor do we want integration, but we want complete separation. Be separated from the way. Our religious leader and teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, teaches us that this is the only intelligent and lasting solution to the present race problem. In order to fully understand why the Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually reject America's hypocritical promises of integration, it must first be understood by everyone that we are a religious group. Yes, sir. And as a religious group, we can in no way be equated or compared to the non-religious civil rights group. We are Muslims because we believe in Allah. We are Muslims because we practice the religion of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that there is but one God, the creator and sustainer of the entire universe, the all-wise, all-powerful, supreme being, the great God whose proper name is Allah. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also teaches us that Islam is an Arabic word that means complete submission to the will of Allah.
Sorry for the interruption, guys. The StreamYard is tripping again. You know how that goes. If you guys can hear me now, please hit the number 1 and we can restart the video. I was hoping that we would be able to get through this without any service interruptions. I did pause it when I saw the StreamYard messing up. Somebody hit the 1 if you can hear me now, please, and we'll finish. There's not even a lot of this left, but I really want to hear this. I want you guys to finish hearing the speech. Ooh. Can you guys hear me? Hit the 1 if you can hear me, please. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you. It took a few minutes for it to pop up. Okay, so we're going to resume the audio, and I'm so sorry. Y'all know StreamYard been tripping today. And so, yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now, you know. And so, yeah. Hold on. Let me try to get it working again, and we'll get started. 1 second, please. Sorry about that, guys. I think I got it worked out now. Thank you, guys. I know pretty much everybody probably done left, but let me finish the last of the audio. I am so sorry that we had this interruption, and I'll at the end of the video I will post the interruption, StreamYard, and so okay, here we go. If anybody's still on here listening, sorry about this. This is so crazy. I hate that. I think they're doing this on purpose. Anyway, here we go. Let's continue.
You may
All right. Mm. So it messed up again. I think we're back on. I'm so sorry about this, guy. I'm sorry. I agree with that, Keitra, right? So anyway, let me rewind it just a little bit and we'll try to get through this last little bit of it. Hopefully it won't mess up this last time. This is the second video that I've had interrupted this morning. And I'm so sorry. Like Keitra said, maybe it's too much blackness going on this morning, okay? Thank you guys for hanging with me if you haven't. And I apologize. Let me try to.
God gave them an extension of time.
It's too far back.
Turn toward integration, or will they turn toward complete separation?
No, it's not just you, Emmanuel. Can you hear it again? Can you hear it now?
Demand integration into the white society that enslaved them, or will they demand complete separation from that cruel white society that has enslaved them? Will the exploited and oppressed black masses seek integration with their white exploiters and white
Thank you, Crystal.
oppressors, or will these awakening black masses truly revolt and separate themselves completely from this wicked race that has enslaved us? These are just some quick questions that I think will provoke some thought in your mind and my mind. How can the so-called Negroes who call themselves enlightened leaders expect the poor black sheep to integrate into a society of bloodthirsty white wolves that have already been sucking our blood for over 400 years here in America? Or will the black sheep also revolt against the false shepherd, the hand-picked Uncle Tom Negro leader, and seek complete separation so that we can escape from the den of the wolf rather than being integrated with wolves in this wolf den? And since we are in church, and most of us here profess to believe in God, there's another question. When the good shepherd comes, will he integrate his long lost sheep with white wolves? According to the Bible, when God comes, he won't even let his sheep integrate with goats. And if his sheep can't be safely integrated with goats, they certainly aren't safe integrated with wolves. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that no people on earth fit the Bible's symbolic picture about the lost sheep more so than America's 20 million so-called Negroes. And there has never in history been a more vicious and bloodthirsty wolf than the American white man. He teaches us that for 400 years, America has been nothing but a wolf den for 20 million so-called Negroes, 20 million second-class citizens. And this black revolution that is developing against the white wolf today is developing because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a God-sent shepherd, has opened the eyes of our people, and the black masses can now see that we have all been here in this white doghouse long too long. The black masses don't want to integrate. The masses want to separate. We don't want segregation, nor do we want integration, but we want complete separation. In short, we don't want to be segregated by the white man. We don't want to be integrated with the white man. We want to be separated from the white man. to the present grace problem. In order to fully understand why the Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually reject America's hypocritical promises of integration, it must first be understood by everyone that we are a religious group. Yes, sir. And as a religious group, we can in no way be equated or compared to the non-religious civil rights groups. We are Muslims because we believe in Allah. We are Muslims because we practice the religion of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that there is but one God, the creator and sustainer of the entire universe, the all-wise, all-powerful, supreme being, the great God whose proper name is Allah. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also teaches us that Islam is an Arabic word that means complete submission to the will of Allah, or obedience to the God of truth, the God of peace, and the God of righteousness, the God whose proper name is Allah. And he teaches us that the word Muslim is used to describe one who submits to God, one who obeys God. In other words, a Muslim is one who strives to live a life of righteousness. You may ask, what does the religion of Islam have to do with the American so-called Negro's changing attitude toward himself, toward the white man, toward segregation, toward integration, and toward separation? And what part does this religion of Islam play in the current black revolution that's sweeping the American continent today? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Islam is the religion of naked truth. Naked truth. Undressed truth. Truth that is not dressed up. And he says that truth is the only thing that will truly set our people free. Truth will open your eyes and enable us to see the white wolf as he really is. Truth will stand us on our own feet. Truth will make us walk for ourselves instead of leaning on others who mean our people no good. Truth not only shows us who our real enemy is, truth also gives us the strength and the know-how of how to separate ourselves from that enemy. Only a blind man will walk into the open embrace of his enemy. And only a blind people, a people who are blind to the truth about their enemy, will seek to embrace or integrate with that enemy. Why, Jesus himself prophesied, you shall know the truth and it shall make you free. Beloved brothers and sisters, Jesus never said that Abraham Lincoln would make us free. He never said that the Congress would make us free. He never said that the Senate or Supreme Court or John Kennedy would make us free. Jesus, 2,000 years ago, looked down the wheel of time and saw your and my plight here today. And he knew that the tricky high court, Supreme Court, desegregation decisions would only lull you into a deeper sleep. And the tricky promises of the hypocritical politicians on civil rights legislation would only be designed to advance you and me from ancient slavery to modern slavery. But Jesus did prophesy that when Elijah comes in the spirit and power of truth, he said that Elijah would teach you the truth. Elijah would guide you with truth. And Elijah would protect you with truth and make you free indeed. And beloved brothers and sisters, that Elijah, the one whom Jesus said was to come, he has come and is in America today in the person of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This Elijah, the one whom they said was to come and who has come, he teaches those of us who are Muslims that our white slave masters have always known the truth. And they've always known that truth alone would set us free. Therefore, this same American white man kept truth hidden from our people. He kept us in the darkness of ignorance. He made us spiritually blind by depriving us of the light of truth. During the 400 years that we have spent confined to the darkness of ignorance here in this land of bondage, our American enslavers have given us an overdose of their own white-controlled Christian religion. But they have kept all other religions hidden from us, especially the religion of Islam. And for this reason, Almighty God Allah, the God of our forefathers, has raised the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from the midst of our downtrodden people here in America. And this same God has missioned the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to spread the naked truth to America's 20 million so-called Negroes. And truth alone will make you free. Not the president, not the Congress, not the Senate, not the Supreme Court, but truth alone will make you and me free. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us whose proper name is Allah. One religion, the religion of Islam. And that this one God will not rest until he has used his one religion to establish one world. A universal one world brotherhood. But in order to set up his righteous world, God must first bring down this wicked white world. The black revolution against the injustices of the white world is all part of God's divine plan. God must destroy the world of slavery and evil in order to establish a world based upon freedom, justice, and equality. The followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad religiously believe that we are living at the end of this wicked world, the world of colonialism, the world of slavery, the end of the Western world, the white world, or the Christian world, or the end of the wicked white man's Western world of Christianity. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the symbolic stories in all religious scripture paint a prophetic picture of today. He says that the Egyptian house of bondage was only a prophetic picture of America. Mighty Babylon was only a prophetic picture of America. The wicked cities of Sodom and Gomorrah painted only a prophetic picture of America. No one here in this church tonight can deny that America is the mightiest government on earth today. The mightiest, the richest, and the wickedest. And no one in this church tonight dare deny that America's wealth and power stems from 310 years of slave labor contributed by the American so-called Negro. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that these same so-called American Negroes are God's long-lost people, who are symbolically described in the Bible as the lost sheep or as the lost tribes of Israel. We who are Muslims believe in God. We believe in His scriptures. We believe in Christ. And nowhere in the scripture has God ever integrated His enslaved people with their slave master. God always separates His oppressed people from their oppressor and then destroys the oppressor. God never deviated from His divine pattern in the past, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that God will not deviate from that divine pattern today. Just as God destroyed the enslavers in the past, God is going to destroy this wicked white enslaver of our people here in America today. God wants us to separate ourselves from this wicked white race here in America. Because this American house of bondage is number one on God's list for divine destruction today. I repeat, this American house of bondage is number one on God's list for divine destruction today. He warns us to remember, Noah never taught integration. Noah taught separation. Moses never taught integration. Moses taught separation. The innocent must always be given a chance to separate themselves from the guilty before the guilty are executed. No one is more innocent than the poor, blind American so-called Negroes who have been led astray by blind Negro leaders. And no one on earth is more guilty than the blue-eyed white man who has used his control and influence over the Negro leader to lead the rest of our people astray. So, beloved brothers and sisters here, a beautiful morning at the Abyssinia Baptist Church in Harlem, because of America's evil deeds against the so-called Negroes, like Egypt and Babylon before her, America herself now stands before the bar of justice. America herself is now facing her day of judgment. And she can't escape because God himself is the judge. If America can't atone for the crimes she has committed against the 20 million so-called Negroes, if she can't undo the evils that she has brutally and mercilessly heaped upon our people these past 400 years, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that America has signed her own doom. And you, our people, would be foolish to accept her deceitful offers of integration at this late date into her doomed society. Can America escape? Can America atone? And if so, how can she atone for these crimes? In my conclusion, I must point out that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says a desegregated theater, a desegregated lunch counter won't solve our problem. Their jobs won't solve our problem. An integrated cup of coffee isn't sufficient pay for 400 years of slave labor. He also says that a better job in the white man's factory, or a better job in the white man's business, or a better job in the white man's industry or economy is at best only a temporary solution. He says that only lasting or permanent solution is complete separation on some land that we can call our own. Therefore, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that this problem can be solved, and solved forever, just by sending our people back to our own homeland, or back to our own people. But that this government should provide the transportation, plus everything else we need to get started again in our own country. This government should give us everything we need in the form of machinery, material, and finance, enough to last for 20 to 25 years until we can become an independent people in an independent nation in our own land. He says that if the American government is afraid to send us back to our own country and to our own people, then America should set aside some separate territory right here in the Western Hemisphere, where the two races can live apart from each other, since we certainly don't get along peacefully while we are together. says that the size of the territory can be judged according to our population. If a seventh of the population of this country is black, then give us a seventh of the territory. Give us a seventh part of the country. And that's not asking too much because we already worked for the land for 400 years. He says it must not be in the desert, but where there is plenty of rain and much mineral wealth. We want fertile, productive land on which we can farm and provide our own people with food, clothing, and shelter. He said that this government should supply us on that territory with the machinery and other tools needed to dig into the earth. Give us everything we need for 20 to 25 years until we can produce and supply our own needs. And in my conclusion, I repeat, we want no part of integration with this wicked race that enslaved us. We want complete separation from this race of death. But he also says we should not be expected to leave America empty-handed. After 400 years of slave labor, we have some back pay coming. A bill that is owed to us and must be collected. That the government of America truly repents of its sins against our people and atones by giving us our true share, not an integrated cup of coffee, but our true share of the land and the wealth. Then America can save herself. But if America waits for God to step in and force her to make a just settlement, God will take this entire continent away from the white man. And the Bible says that God can then give the kingdom to whomsoever he pleases.
All right. So that is the end of the second speech, you guys. I am so sorry for the technical difficulties, the interruptions. This is the second time that this has happened to me this morning. I mean, it's almost like they didn't want us to finish the video, but thank God we were almost at the end of it anyway. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Like I said, Keitra and whoever else, please feel free to share the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, hit that share button if you haven't. Do you see what I'm saying? I just like I said earlier, can you imagine if we had this kind of teaching, today in 2020, how much further along our people would be? Do you see what I'm saying? And it was amazing to hear, such powerful speeches coming from Malcolm X, seeing as how they hadn't ever been broadcast, but they had been recorded. Do you see what I'm saying? At Malcolm X's behest, Making It Happen says, thank you so much, Auntie. I shared this video with the family. Thank you so much, Making It Happen, Manny. I appreciate it. And, you guys, like I said, please feel free to share this video. This audio needs to get out. It is rare audio, and I can understand why it wasn't broadcast, because this is true Malcolm X, in my opinion. This is vintage Malcolm X. I also thought it was fascinating how well, his message was, accepted, in a Baptist church, in Adam Clayton Powell's Baptist church. Do you see what I'm saying? Because we know that Malcolm X was the leader of the Fruit of Islam. He spoke about separating as opposed to integration. He also spoke about reparations, and I absolutely agree with everything that he had to say in both of these speeches. And I feel, fortunate to be able to present this to you guys this morning. Thank you, A Class, for watching the replay. And once again, I'm so elated to be a part of your powerful life. Thank you so much, Keitra. I appreciate it. You're very welcome. Thank you, Alicia. And like I said, once again, I'm so sorry about the service interruptions. When the video uploads, I will put a message at the bottom. I pin it to the message so that people will continue to listen. Cause we know that we got cut off a couple of times, but we did make it through it. Thanks once again, Crystal, for your donation, Cash App. I appreciate it so much. Emmanuel said, yes, this was amazing. So glad I got to hear this with you. I'll thank you again. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know what I mean? You guys, I'm gonna get off of here. But this was just so amazing and so powerful to me. I wanted to share it with you guys, and I'm glad I got a chance to do that. If you guys stayed with me this whole 2+ hours, thank you so much. I just find it fascinating that if I was on here, speaking ill about our people, for over 2 hours, roasting and gagging, or whatever, speaking very derogatorily, I bet this live wouldn't cut off not one time. Do you see what I'm saying? But it did, and we saw it through, and we got to finish. So I'm gonna get off here before it cuts off again. I just wanted to make my closing arguments. Thank you guys once again for joining me. Crystal King said it was an honor and a privilege to share this food for the soul today. Humble. Thank you so much, Crystal King. And like I said, thank you so much for your donation. You guys mean so much to me. Thank you for being so interactive in the chat. Do you see what I'm saying? You guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to close right now. Don't forget to smile. Don't forget to smile at somebody, honey, and never, ever, ever forget to love your beautiful Malcolm. I always say Malcolm X self. Never, ever forget to love your beautiful melanated self. Okay? If you guys didn't hear the whole thing, please go back and listen to the replay after the video uploads. Do you see what I'm saying? I had to say for all of this. You had to stay for all of it. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you. Making it happen, man. He's laughing at me. Child, I got Malcolm X on the brain. Okay. I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Peace.